Hello, beautiful people. This is your podcast host, Robbie. I'm so happy to have you here on Be True to You for another podcast episode where I have guests come on to share their experience, strength, hope, and wisdom. And I'm delighted to have my next guest here, Christina Michael. Welcome. And
Thank
I
you very
thank you
much.
for your time.
Thank you. I'm pleased to be here and I'm very blessed. Thank you for inviting me.
I'm so happy to have you here, and I just get so excited and all amped up here. Um, a reminder to those who are listening, thank you for tuning in and again, sharing experience, strength, hope, and wisdom, and trusting that something will resonate with you today. So, Christina is a holistic healer and a wellness advocate. She is dedicated and passionate to help individuals achieve balance, wellness, and inner harmony. And she looks at addressing the whole person, body, mind, and spirit. And so Christina's work is guided by the principles of alignment, virtue, reciprocity, and community impact. And with all of the sound healing techniques that Christina does, which I've been blessed to experience, it has very positive impacts. And so Christina's practice integrates a variety of healing modalities, including sound therapy, reiki, energy alignment, holistic massage, and she uses all of these to guide her clients through transformative experience. Christina also does one on one work, facilitates group sessions, and leads training programs. And believe me, she does create nurturing spaces for self discovery, healing, and growth. And Christina is very dedicated to the holistic wellness and community involvement. And in addition to her healing practice, she's also giving back as an ambassador growth officer for the Canadian Men's Health Foundation. And through this role, Christina supports initiatives that empower men to embrace healthier lifestyles and prioritize their well being, which is important because men and women must be working on their healing and improving their lifestyles as much as possible. And so I'm very happy to have Christina here. And I actually attended your session about 3 weeks, maybe a month ago.
Think so. Yes. Gosh, time flies, right?
It does. And I had the most amazing session. I've experienced sound bowls, of course, with my daughter's work, and the gong and all of the other instruments that were used. Like I could really feel that in my body. And I think you had mentioned that as well. Like I was just opening up and receiving it all. That was
Yeah.
beautiful. And the atmosphere that you created was incredible. And so maybe if we start off the podcast here, um, with the work that you're doing in Vancouver and the collaboration that you're starting. Let's start with talking about what drew you to your wellness modality and what has it done for your holistic well-being.
Well, that goes back 30 something years now. I was always quite sporty and active and stuff in my younger years. And I went to university, and I'll start right there and then I'll fast forward. I was 19, went to McMaster University, needed a job, went to the school, got a job at the gym. And as soon as I walked into the gym, um, it was like euphoric for me. And it's like I found my home. So I got really into weight training, and that fast forward from there, so many things happened. We can talk about that another time because it's too long of a story, but I fell in love with fitness was my first.
Mm.
I always practiced a little bit of meditation and was drawn to different creative arts and healing arts over the years. My cousin introduced me to some of those things, and so it was always in my consciousness. And then fast forward to like 2012, 2013, I started really, things were changing in my life. Big transformative moments were happening personally, professionally.
Mm.
And then my girlfriend, I was going through a particularly stressful time personally, and my best friend was also passing away from cancer, so I was her primary caregiver.
Oh.
And yeah, she took me to a sound bath just because I needed some self-care. And so another friend took me a sound bath, and I was, I had an experience I'd never had experienced before. It was like my soul was sort of screaming to come out, and it did, and
Mm,
went to some other dimension. And it's like my body sank into the ground and was reinflated, and I came out of there a different
mm,
person. And then from that, I was hooked on sound baths, and I was hooked on sound and binaural beats and understanding that whole realm, and working with my friend to help her through her end of stage of life. And
mm,
I became a Reiki master teacher in that time too, because I was very drawn to that, and
mm.
started studying lymphatic drainage and holistic massage, and won a fitness competition and holistically treated
Wow.
myself at 41, and just was really realizing also. And I started going to therapy, and I really just started realizing this whole other side to life that was multidimensional, not just about my physical body, which is, I'm very blessed to have the genetic makeup that I do, but also um, something was always missing. And through healing arts, I connected the two, and I started feeling that it's really like I started studying neuroplasticity, and I started
Wow.
studying trauma and grief and all sorts of different things. And it's become like a lifelong now learning experience where there's something every single day I learn. I continue to take more classes, and yeah, I
Mm.
just
That's amazing. And it's great that your friend had you there to help. And I know that's a
yeah.
lot of very heavy work to support someone when they're going through their illness and towards the end of their time. So I'm glad that she had you there to do that and talk about a time. I recognize that a lot of people, when they're sharing their stories, it's always 2012. And there was so much going on at that time. And, same thing, you kind of reminded me of 2012 and all of the changes in my personal and professional life at that time. And so, for our well being mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. What is it about the energy and the sound that helps us get better in all of those aspects of who we are? What do you think it boils down to?
Well, physiologically, we're made up of water. So in our bodies, over 70%, our brains, over 65% water. So sound and vibration and frequency travel through water pretty efficiently
Hmm.
and beautifully, and it creates this resonance and waves of energy. So it affects us physiologically on a cellular level, and we can really help our bodies generate new cells, restore cells, help the healthy cells continue to be healthy. It helps our blood circulation and our blood pressure and our organs and pain management and all sorts of things.
Hmm.
We connect the mind to it. It affects our neuroplasticity. It affects the frequency and the vibration and sound that we have within ourselves, that's for the most part inaudible to us, because we have all of
Hmm.
this functions going on in our body. We don't hear our heart beating all day long. We don't hear our lungs expanding and contracting, the gurglings of our stomachs, and our organs functioning, and the cells all moving around, and our blood swishing, and so on and so forth. We
Hmm.
don't we don't hear that. We don't hear our voice the same way others do.
Right.
And we are born from a place of vibration and frequency and sound. In utero, we're in a amniotic fluid inside of our mothers, and all we're hearing is that sound from her. We're
Hmm.
hearing her heartbeat. We're hearing all of her body working. And then we're hearing the external forces coming at us that has vibration and frequency, and the different tones that other people, when they're speaking to us, we can hear everything in utero. So that helps create our brain and our neural pathways. So
Hmm.
that's a pretty incredible thing to think about. And I encourage anyone who's pregnant or anybody who's about to have a baby, just talk to your belly all the time and put your hands on it and play music and
Hmm.
sound and class. It's so 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 vital to the development of their baby and in and out of utero. And
Hmm.
then on the spiritual level, when we're able to come from that alpha state of consciousness that we're all in all the time and often overstimulated, and our brains are working overtime to process everything that's coming in, heightened aware and everything. We want to then get into a beta state of consciousness, which is really open to receiving something new, open to trying something new, and we
Hmm.
immediately get into more of a relaxed state of, oh, this is going to be interesting. So we already start to change our own way of thinking and our own frequency and vibe just by being open to something. And then my job, in when it relates to sound, is I'm going to change the frequency you hear. And through the vibration, I'm going to soothe your physiological self. And through the frequencies, I'm going to change what you're normally hearing and how your brain is normally operating. I'm going to open up new neural pathways. We're going to have a meditation at the beginning where we really want to take you to a place in your mind to recall something beautiful and loving
Hmm.
and euphoric, where all your needs were met and all of you, everything was perfect in your world, and go back to that moment. And through the sound, I'll keep you in that place where all that positive thought is now going into your body on a cellular level. And I can pretty much, for the most part, I think everybody gets into a theta state of meditation, which is just like lucid dreaming and seeing
Hmm.
potentially visions and colors, or just like I'm thinking I'm dreaming, but I might be awake and things like that.
Right.
Um, and then I there inevitably are some people in the class or in private sessions, it happens every time. I can get somebody into a delta state of meditation
Hmm.
where they're completely asleep and they're in a place where the frequencies are really working on the mind. The body is open, the channels are opening, and that's when we get into the spiritual part of all the energy centers. Your energy is starting to align, only positive messages are coming through. And I often put the bowls on people's bodies and use a massage technique with those bowls as well to send the vibrations throughout the body, especially with chronic pain or sensitivity
Hmm.
or trauma or grief. Those are very important areas. Also, love. If we put it on your
Yeah.
heart center, and we talk about love and we meditate on love and we set
Hmm.
intentions, and, a lot of people call it manifestation. I believe it's just a real deep desire of connecting with yourself to the seat of your soul. And when we do that, we call it into being, we speak it into being. So is it a
Hmm.
manifestation or is it a will? Because now you're consciously aware of what you want. And when we're
Yeah.
aware of what we want, it usually happens. It's that old phrase, be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, and be mindful of every thought, every word, every
Mhm.
feeling. And I
Yeah.
appreciate you sharing that because, like I said, I experienced that when I attended your session. And, when I first started accessing sound healing in different ways and meditations, I did fall asleep right away. And I was just like, and being told it's okay because
Yeah.
that's when the deep work is being done. And I think it's great that the work that you're doing is so intentional and it makes such a difference for the people who you're working with and those different levels that a person goes through in their healing journey or wellness journey and the clearing out, like as you're talking, I could feel like a filter. Like first you have to kind of like filter out blockages and the heaviness, and then
Mhm.
you call in that love and all of the good feelings and the happiness. But it's a process, and so getting a handle on so many different instruments, I think, that you had when I saw you at your session. What was the one that you were using? You remember when I had my big reaction? Oh my
I
God, I was so open to receiving. Which instrument was that?
I was going to mention that. I recall coming through so I play in getting everybody relaxed and in a lot of ways, I set the stage and the set and the setting and intentions. I'm here for you. This is my passion. This is my practice. I want to share it with as many people as possible. I'm very fortunate to be able to do that. So the whole space is already filled with blessings and kindness and compassion and love and intention. And then really giving people also letting them know the door's locked outside, you're safe and sound and warm. Nothing's going to happen to you. It's a nest of safety and softness.
Mm-hmm.
And lots of people need permission to be to go to sleep or to have a rest. And I give
Yeah.
that permission to do that. Maybe it's the mom in me that I'm like, it's okay, I've got you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when I came over you, and so I usually play the first 10, 15 minutes of just like it's almost like a lullaby in a
Yeah.
way. And then I move and then I integrate and layer in the gong and I play several instruments at the same time. And then I walk around the room with a few instruments. And the one you're referring to is the ocean drum, which is
Mm.
the Ramo double-walled ocean drum is by far a fan favorite, a group favorite in every single session and every journey, even
Mm-hmm.
in private
Yes.
sessions. People love that. When I came over you with that drum, you had involuntary body movements and like a really beautiful um, connection to that drum. So selfishly,
Mm-hmm.
everyone has their eyes closed, so nobody really knows what I'm doing, but
Mm-hmm.
selfishly, I kind of stayed over you a little longer than most people, and that happens in that environment. Different instruments resonate with different people, and they will
Mm-hmm.
also have different sounds because of that energy connecting together. And so
Mm-hmm.
I have a heart chalice as well that I love to use, and
Mm-hmm.
I there was a particular gentleman in one of my baths that had never been to one before. And when I went over him, he was completely in a delta state of meditation. I went over him with the heart chalice and around him, and the sound that came through connecting with that instrument was something I'd never heard it do before. So I kind of played around him a little bit more than I normally would
Mm-hmm.
just because it was so powerful and beautiful. And I shared that
Mm-hmm.
with him after, and he definitely felt something at that time. So it was
Mm-hmm.
really cool to experience that with people. And
Yeah.
yeah, it was neat.
It was amazing to go through that, and I thank you. Like I had no doubt that it was going to be an amazing session, and I'm an ocean baby, so I love
Oh,
the ocean, and so like I'm always in the water as much as I possibly can, and so of course I resonated with that. And when you started collaborating, with Stacia, for instance, and the importance of coming together. We're talking about conscious connection with ourselves and, tuning into the sound and the energies and the vibrations, not thinking about the blood pumping through us, and you step out of yourself. And when you have your room full of people and they're ready to receive, and you're going to that next level, the importance of conscious connection with each other. Can you speak to that a little bit? The conscious connection and the importance of conscious connection with each other.
yeah. I mean, with do you mean like with myself and Stacia, or and other collaborators, or with the group and the whole room in general?
With the group in general, like because you
Yeah,
have how many 16 people in the room at the same time?
usually, yeah. I think I've had
Mm-hmm.
close to 20 at some points.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because I don't do well in big crowds.
Mm-hmm.
Energy for me is too overwhelming, or in
Mm-hmm.
spaces with big crowds. So it's not great for me. However, in these experiences, it feels connected and right. And I think that just has to do with my human self is I like to be in charge a little. So I like to feel that, I'm the provider here and it's my space, but I want you to come in and share. And also, really it's the receptiveness of so many people that come to my sound baths that have never done one before.
Mm.
And they feel drawn and connected and word of mouth. I had a woman bring 8 of her friends one night. I was like, "Have you all
Nice.
met
That's
each other?" She's
awesome.
like, "Oh no, we're all here together as a group." And I was like, "Whoa, what?" So
That's awesome.
yeah, so
So
that
what
was
is
really
some of
cool.
the feedback? What is some of the feedback that you get from the ones who have tried it for the first time?
Oh gosh, it ranges anywhere from I had no idea to that was powerful to took
Mm,
a while to relax, but then suddenly it went by so fast. And
mhm,
some people cry. I've had people have big, really emotional releases and hug me at the end. I've had some
mm,
really surprising things happen where I found,
mm.
this person is somewhat maybe resistant coming on a date or being dragged by their partner or something.
Oh, wow.
And experience this, and at the end, they're the one that is most um, profoundly uh, had the most profound experience and just can't believe it and wants to stay longer and chat and gives me
Yeah.
hugs and, shares the space. So it depends. I've received some incredible emails, text messages. I had one this week that I'm not going to share it because I'll get super emotional, but it was a gentleman that
Mm,
came on his own. And honestly, he was so quiet and reserved. And I thought, okay, well, he's, I don't know. He's been to many sound baths, he said, because I always check in with people and I introduce myself and I give them crystals and I connect with
mm,
them. And he's just, okay. And I thought, okay. And then he left after very quietly and thanked me very professionally and walked. I thought, gosh, I feel like I'm being interviewed by a Michelin star restaurant reviewer. Like, is it what's happening here? But it was good. It was like, listen, you take with it, you come in and you take what you need. And that's it. So this was weeks ago, and on Tuesday morning, I woke up to an email from him out out of the blue. Um, that was just so, I think the most beautiful thing, like I'll get emotional now.
yeah.
Yeah. It's
But
the most
that
beautiful word
feedback,
anyone has ever spoken to me.
that's so special. And that's you doing your work. Your heart is in service and he felt that. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
it was unbelievable. And yeah, I have people that come back every week. I have people that bring friends. I have people that come and see me
Mhm,
privately now. I have, and the fact that people trust me to take them in
mm,
care and to connect with me and let me help them and heal them and give
mhm.
them the love and compassion and kindness and support that we all deserve. I think that's that's incredible. I'm so lucky and blessed I get to do this.
Yeah, and that just sets the tone for an amazing experience for people. And it's like allowing that opportunity. I think I actually learned that through Stacia is like give yourself permission to receive because
Mm,
being mom, I hear you. But it's like permission to receive and permission to be vulnerable. And
mm,
that's a huge one. And I'm speaking from my own experience, of course, like with the walls that get built up around, with tough situations in life and that kind of thing. And it takes such a while to slowly chip away at those walls. And it's like, oh, yes, getting into the feelings and
yeah.
why is my face wet? Oh, those are tears. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
exactly.
But once
Exactly.
I did, like it was like waterfalls, and what a blessing. And now I've learned through our teachings, and thank you for honoring your tears. To have an
Mm,
elder say that to you, it's just amazing. And the benefit of all of the elements of our being, the water, the earth, the air, the fire, the ether, all working together within us and for us. It's funny, I was in a group discussion last week and I was saying that, we we're made up of all of the elements, like call on the elements to support us,
Just
right?
wrote
And I
about
kind
this
of,
last night. I
yeah,
literally just wrote about all the elements last night and how I was feeling after Sunday's sound session and Reiki session. It was incredible. Yeah.
And so like, getting those looks like, and I'm like, but people, I think, need to be reminded. And it's like, even if it's the biological approach or the cultural approach or whatever approach it is, just remembering how our bodies are made up of all of these elements and what we can do to take care of it outside of, modern medicine. And it's like the Reiki and all of the traditional and holistic practices that work. And so, not giving medical advice here at all, but, recognizing the opportunities that are there to try something different. And so, if you can speak to your courage about following your passions, because it seems a lot of people leave a certain life, what we've been trained for, go to school for, all of that. And then our life is a little bit different compared to like those academic days. So,
Yeah.
can you speak a little bit to about how you had the courage to follow your passion? You spoke of it a little bit earlier, but is there anything else that you want to add to that?
Yeah, it's interesting. The Wizard of Oz has been on my mind so much in the last few months for some reason. I had a dream about it and now things are popping up all over the place because I'm seeing them about it. And there's something about that movie. So I did a little research on it and talking about courage and heart and finding your way in the Yellow Brick Road and all the resemblances. Like this movie is almost 100 years old when it was written. And we're getting into he was brought out in 1938. The film came out, but I think it was written in 1925. So we're coming on like 100 years coming up of The Wizard
Mm,
of Oz, and the same things still ring true from that film. And it just dawned on me of I feel now this was always the place I was supposed to arrive,
mm,
and all of the things along the way that I may have perceived as decisions about what I should do for a living or what I neglected to do or rejected to do because that's not the right thing to do or that's not going to do this or that or whatever the reasons were in the last, you know, how many years now? I'm in my 50s now. So I think now it's a real place where I've landed uh, in the space that I am truly meant to be. So the courage I had to get here is I was extremely unhappy. And
mm,
there wasn't anything more I could do in the career I had had for 8 years. And I missed my holistic wellness life pre that career. I missed um, so much about community. I missed so much about connecting with myself and finding that safe and soft place for me to land all the time.
mm,
And so I just decided last year, um, just to walk away from it all. So I did.
mm,
That's very typical of me, though, too. I can tend to
mm,
get to, I usually have a 5 to 8 year timeline when it comes to things. And then I'm like, okay, I don't want to do this
mhm,
anymore. I want to do something else.
mhm,
Um, and they're usually always risky, crazy things, and I make them work. But this time I really was looking at my life and also thinking, um, I do want to work for a very long time. I do have a lot to contribute,
mm.
and I have an insane amount, an abundant amount of love to give. And my son's gone off to
Nice.
university, and I'm on my own, and I'm sitting here going, where do I put all this? My cat can only take so much love in a day. And so, my friends are dispersed all over and everybody's busy. So I'm like, what can I do? And really it came down to that. It came down to I need a place to put some of my energy. I need a place to share
Mm,
the amount of love and kindness and healing that I have in myself. And I needed to come back to my spirituality. I needed to start
mm,
meditating way more. I needed to start praying. And I know people equate praying a lot when my friends look at me like, you pray? And I'm like, praying to me isn't about religiosity
Mhm.
so much. You believe, I have my own beliefs. Everyone else has theirs. Um,
Yes.
and, but for me, prayer is like a portal for me. It's exactly what you said. I'm here to receive what is unfolding for me, and I'm open to letting that happen. And I want to see what's going to emerge, and I can't control it. So like, show me. I don't know what to do, and or I ask for things and intentionally ask and not be shy about that. And
Mm,
through sound, I'm able to share how I feel. And you mentioned vulnerability, and for a long time, there's a huge era there for a while of like Brene Brown, and she's still very prominent in the world. And it was all around vulnerability, vulnerability.
mm,
And
mhm,
my coach and guide, I was doing a coaching program as well 12, 13 years ago. Um,
mm,
she kept saying, you've got to be more vulnerable. And I heard that my whole life. So I had a little bit of a stigma around vulnerability. And
mm,
I okay, so this past year, I just did a lot of work on that, and it occurred to me, and it's different for everybody, but it occurred to me, I am super vulnerable. I've put myself out there a million times at crazy risk to
mm,
everything about me. And what I wasn't tapping into was my sensitivity. And
mm,
without sensitivity, you can't be vulnerable in the sense of like those things have to intersect. They have to collaborate in order for us to
mm,
truly be whole. And I had to come to a place, and through sound, I get there. And that's my way of sharing. I always say, I've said for decades, I'm like a s'more. I'm really hard and protective on the outside, but on the inside, I'm this marshmallowy, sweet, gooey, chocolatey healthy mess. And to the extent of I can be a trailblazer and a badass and all the things people have called me before, and the best way.
mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
that's also the depth of my sensitivities and my emotions and my love. So I encourage people to always think about that. What someone's projecting on the outside, what's going on the inside is equal to that depth of the
Mhm,
opposite. It's the yin and the yang. It's the black and the white. It is what it is. And
mhm.
I think that's where I came to. And that profoundly changed my life. And I am so calm, even through menopause. I'm like, it took me a while, but now that I'm here, and especially in the last, few months, where I found a home at Space and Soul, which is such a beautiful, unbelievable space in Vancouver that's new,
It is.
and connecting with Kate and collaborating with her, and she's just amazing, and I feel so at home there. I
Mhm,
love being there, and it's such a welcoming space. So I energetically connect with that and the community and the intention she built that place on.
mhm,
It was
mhm,
beautiful. Stacia reaching out to me after months of having done, we were randomly beside each other at an event and, exchanged
mhm,
numbers. And she reached out to me, and now we get to do stuff together and
mhm.
teaching, and everything's just emerging and unfolding as it is supposed to.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. And I appreciate you sharing about that because, the power of words and maybe even associations with certain words are so important. And my last podcast, I had an elder on, Jerry Ullman, and the way he conducts himself, I've known him in the Vancouver community for quite a while and he's moved to Manitoba now, but he would talk about that, like really stop and slow down and the curiosity that you're talking about, I'm the same. Like the mind, just like, where does this go and what does that mean? And how was it before? And it's like following that curiosity. But, I told him, I said, I'm always looking up words. I'm always looking up words like, what does that really mean? Right? What does it really mean? And so I love that he was able to share about that and just really recognizing that connection, the thought. and the word when it's expressed, or even like the feelings, how they're all tied together. So being really mindful of what we're putting out there, and the importance of connecting with people in a good way. They feel your energy and your good intention. That's why your rooms are always full. And I'm glad that I had the opportunity to attend, and, your collaboration with Stacia. And, you're talking about menopause and at a certain age and all the things that go on with the changes in our bodies, and, being accepting of those changes, and, just doing our best to feel through it. But I think what comes to mind when I think about that, because as a mother, um, how much effort does it take to remember to balance that giving and the receiving, the giving and the receiving?
I thought it would be harder.
Mm,
I think I've just, like I said, I'm just arrived in a space now where I'm not afraid of it. I'm just
mm,
open. And I also, through my Reiki training and some Reiki professionals and teachers and so on, practitioners, they may or may not agree with some of the ways I treat energy, but it's my energy and I have to honor it for what it is and how
mhm,
it is for me. And when I'm with people, uh, I don't do a lot to protect myself anymore because I feel that I'm grounded with who I am as a whole person.
mm,
And what when I meet someone new, I don't know the people you're maybe having challenges with or the stress of your work. All I'm here to
mm,
do is say, I can help alleviate that. I'll take some of it off your plate, but it's not mine. I'm not absorbing it, taking it away and saying, give some of that to me, and I'll remove it for you. And I'll take some of the load off, but through the sound and through, meditation
mhm,
and through my energy that's so positive now and so whole for myself. I think it's too
mhm,
powerful that for that negative energy to even get close to coming into my
mhm,
sphere anymore. Now I'm just like, you're weak compared to my my flow. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's about the constant access to that meditation, to the sound, to all of the things. And to me, I see like the aura builds up, and the aura around us, our energy, our aura, our fields are getting stronger. And so, really, using that excess to help others and tapping into those gifts where it's natural. And so it takes a while to get there because of society's pressures, like you said, the should haves and could haves and ought to be and all of that. So, getting past all of that. And as far as collaborating, what is the benefit that you're seeing in collaborating more and more with other people to provide the services?
Community, building community,
Mm,
and uh, being able to share practice with somebody is a really interesting process, and it's beautiful. Stacia's done some Reiki on me, for example, and
mm,
I don't get that very often. Like I do it on
mm,
myself, or busy, or all these things, but we have to remind ourselves that we need that for each other. So I love collaborating because I'm also able to meet other people in the community and we help each other.
mm,
And it's like, hey, can you come over? I could use a sound treatment. Sure. Can you do some Reiki on me after, or a vagus nerve massage on me, or acupuncture
mm,
or whatever? So it's really nice to be able to
mhm,
collaborate with people and share an experience and help each other because it's not
mm,
easy to ask still. I mean, I'm sensitive and vulnerable now, but it's not always easy for me to say, "Hey, I need help," which I'm getting so much better at, and
mhm.
that means the world to me because we all need to feel also that we're cared for, even as a
Yeah.
caregiver. It's equally important. Yeah.
Definitely. And I love that because I actually took Reiki training as well too. And I saw how they have Reiki shares in different pockets of communities, and you can just find each other. And, whether you're in your training between your different levels or just as a community coming together and helping each other out, I think I love that idea. And so, community is so important, and being able to create the communities or find our communities is such a joy because it feels like home, and it's like family, right? In
Yeah.
in
I had
essence.
about 6, 7 weeks ago, I had a bit of a intersection of my life changed course, and immediately that night my girlfriend came over. She opened all the windows and she saged the house and she did her mantra and she did a little Reiki on me, and we sat in my living room and we laughed and we she just went everywhere and like pushed everything out the windows and just let
Mm,
me sit and just
mm,
let it all swirl out of here and like visualize that and just really,
mm,
and every single person that's come to my house since that day too is like, oh, oh, it's your sanctuary again. It's all your energy again.
mm.
Feel the lightness,
Nice.
calm, and I was like,
Mm,
yeah, it was super powerful. But that's community, that's family, that's friends, that's people who love you and understand. And she immediately was like, I'm coming over tonight, and and
mhm,
right
yeah.
away took care of me and took care of my space,
Yeah.
and it was amazing. Yeah,
Hmm.
super healing. I mean, it's a beautiful experience.
That's a good friend. And so now that you're kind of in your zone again, and how does your identity feel to you now compared to at the beginning when you first discovered the sound healing? You said 30 years ago, or
Or
like
yeah, in
what does your
2014.
identity look like to you now?
I feel like
Who's Christina?
yeah, I think my identity's always been projected as exactly who I am. It wasn't, and it's evolved. I'm not, I've gone through many iterations of identity, from being a small kid and the smallest member and youngest member of our family for so many years, to, um, yeah, my generation with my cousins. I'm the youngest, so I was like, that was an identity in a way. Um, my youth was an identity in my way. My 20s moving out here by myself was an identity in another way. But I always had a foundation, like a rootedness that I know who I am. I think the biggest thing that shifted for me is that I'm no longer really influenced by things. And that was
Mm.
more about turning 50 a couple of years ago than anything. That transformation was happening, whether I was on board or not.
Mhm.
and, and yeah, and it wasn't just a transformation physically. It was a transformation of, honestly, wisdom.
Mm,
There's a level of wisdom I feel I have now that I'm so, the word comes to mind, and there's a sweetness to it.
mm,
My edginess in the past uh, has now turned to a sweetness. So maybe the s'mores flipping inside out.
mm.
I'm still vegan, I don't know, but it's definitely a sweetness about myself. And others
Mm.
may have seen it all along, but I now look in the mirror.
Beautiful. I love that analogy, and everybody loves s'mores. Yeah, I love s'mores.
Yeah, yeah.
And I hear you on that because I'm pretty close in age to you, and so I'm laughing thinking about I was talking about the walls, and it's just like that softness is
Mm,
coming out, and with that is that wisdom. And I had mentioned it before on another discussion, but I was watching this energy worker on YouTube, and she was talking about mitochondria and how our wisdom comes through on our mother's line only, and that comes through the mitochondria. So we access through our mother's line and her mother's line and her mother's line. And if there's kind of like things that need to be cleared away, that gets taken care of, and then we can access the wisdom. And it's just, to me, it looks like a huge wave. Of course, the ocean person here, but
My
I
mom
think it's
passed away.
amazing.
My mom passed away about 5 years ago, and
Mm,
I feel more connected to her now than I did my
mm,
whole life.
mm,
And I think, there's something to that. I feel like she's around me all the time. I feel I can connect with her. I'm understanding her on a level I never understood her on before. Um,
mm,
I always had this theory, and it's because I'm a mom, and my son is like everything to me. And
mm,
I always had this theory, like, well, because he grew in me. I grew him. I gave him all the nourishment, and I gave him all of my thoughts, and I gave him all of my energy, and it's not just about DNA and
mm.
genetics at that point. It's about, wait a minute, I think he's maybe more 80% me and 20% his. Because really for 9, 10 months, we were in one body. He heard
Mm,
everything I said and thought and
mhm,
believed all the good and the bad and the loving and the abundance and all the energy I had, all my blood, all my, like, everything I gave to him. And so
mhm,
in that regard, I'm like, there has to be something there. And that's why it makes sense to me too that it comes from the mother's ascension in life and her
mhm,
history and legacy of her ancestors and everything, because you grew inside that space.
mhm.
You go
For
anywhere else.
sure.
Like,
Yeah, yeah, for
so, and
sure.
then the process of giving birth in and of itself is something only the two of you, or multiples, if there's multiples, that's only you two know that experience.
Mm, mhm. And it's a strong connection for sure until they cut that umbilical cord.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
connection's still there.
There, my son and I used to do this when he was in little performances at school. When he was little, he'd look in the crowd for me, and I'd be like this, and it was the heartstring that always
Mm,
connected us. And then I'd be like, I love you, and he'd be like, I love
mm.
you.
Oh,
And we'd see
sweet.
each other, and that was always the invisible string. Like, no matter what, we're always an invisible string connected to each other.
Hmm.
And
That's so special.
yeah, it's super special. He's 20 now, and he's
It's
probably going to listen to this and be like, oh God.
We're always embarrassing them. It doesn't matter what
Yes,
age.
mom's arrived at embarrassing village. I reside here now. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I'm really enjoying this discussion. It's just like so many similar. Yep, yep.
It's pretty funny.
And so, is there anything else that you want to offer with regards to sound healing and the benefits of sound healing, and anything else that we've discussed?
Yeah, I think a huge part for me is encourage people not just to see this as an on trend or something that is um, I don't know, just a spiritual modality. It's not. There's so much work being done around the world, in our own country, around music therapy, sound therapy, vibration therapy. There's
Mm,
lots and lots of things happening out there around pain management, grief, trauma, love, um, uh, cancer. Cancer cells don't like vibration. They don't like heat.
mm,
There's a lot of sound
mm,
and ultrasonic therapy that's going on around the research around oncology and migraines and inner
mm,
ear issues, tinnitus, menopause, stress, anxiety, trauma, grief, as I said, PTSD. Like, there's so many things. We are a whole person.
mm,
Tend to, in this day and age, specifically because of technology, somewhat connect our brains as our own microprocessor, our own server farm of what's happening. But really, it's not. We get to decide consciously what we want to think about. Our brain isn't a separate operating system or motherboard in within ourselves. It it's our consciousness that decides what we want to do and don't want to do. And people are virtuous, I believe. And I believe that we tap into that, um, those values of kindness and compassion and love and virtue and reciprocity. And there's so many studies to show how good it is to give back. And I wanted to mention about the Canadian Men's Health Foundation and
Mm.
my involvement and role at the company and the organization. We really need to help and support a lot of the men in this world, um, especially because they're still struggling with the programming and the conversation around being a provider. But there's so many other things going on that is disconnecting them from connecting with themselves and not taking care of themselves. And it's shocking to me in a way, but I get a lot of male one-on-one clients that come in with chronic
Mm.
and
Mhm.
need to connect with themselves and have other issues going on and they're stressed and they need to relax and they need to bring their blood pressure down and their cholesterol down and they need sleep.
Mhm.
1 hour of a session with me, either in a sound bath or one-on-one with sound healing and therapy, can feel like up to 2 to 4 hours of sleep. Uh,
Mhm.
and that's huge for our recovery. It's huge for our clarity. It's huge for our healing. It's huge for our bodies, our
Mhm.
hearts, physically, our pain management and everything. And those effects of that can last, anywhere from 24 to 72 hours. The more you hydrate, the more that vibration can continue to flow. So, and I've opened up pathways in your brain that you didn't even know you had. So
Mm.
it's really special. And I really am, I see people coming in on dates all the time too. And
Mm.
it's
Interesting.
beautiful that they come in together
Mm.
and connect with each other, but also get some rest together. And
Mhm.
beautiful thing. So, I really feel that please don't just see some of the healing arts and holistic practices as something
Mhm.
that is woo woo or, not rooted in science. It is rooted in science. It's
Mhm.
rooted in research and science. There's tons of proof on that coming out.
Mm.
So, try it because you might be really surprised.
Nicely surprised, I'm sure. Yeah, I thank you for mentioning that because it's so true. And, men and women like that constant go, 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 and that push and being so busy. And it's like stopping that
Can I just,
trend of just being busy, right?
yeah, can I just say too, it's not all about trauma release. It's
Mhm.
about loving yourself
Mm.
as well.
Yeah.
It's about the placement of your own energy and your own flow, your own safe and soft place to land. It doesn't
Mhm.
always have to be about releasing negative. It can be about celebrating the positive.
Yes.
And
Yes.
the more we do that and we meditate on those memory recalls of beautiful times in our lives, our brain now is taking that and putting it into our cells. So we're not storing different things in our bodies because it's all negative and trauma deposits. It's now let's replace some of those and send only the good things in there.
Mm.
That's the practice I really want and hope for people to really shift toward is this is a beautiful expression of things we get to try as human beings, and that is
Mm.
gift and your own vibration and frequency and love and intellect and consciousness needs to radiate out. So your song radiates out of you, your vibe, your frequency radiates out of
Mhm.
you. And that radiation attracts what is meant for you.
I believe in that. It's so true. And it's amazing listening to you because, in our cultural teachings and a lot of the discussion I had, I keep mentioning Jerry the Elder in my last podcast, I see such similarities. And to me, it's like the words are just coming and catching up to the indigenous way of life and the way of being. And now it's called this, and now it's called like it has a name to it, like the chakras and, working with energy and all of that. But our healers and shaman knew that like without knowing the words. I think it's just amazing and my mind just gets um, all excited and it's the parallels and we're all aiming for the same thing is to be whole and healthy in all aspects of our being. And so I thank you for the work that you're doing for the community and definitely supporting the men who need to slow down and receive and get beyond that active kind of provider mentality. And so the importance of giving and receiving. And I think you're helping people do that very well. So I have one last question before we kind of wrap up here. And it's just thank you so much, Christina, for sharing your experiences here. The last question that I end my podcast with always is how do you stay true to you?
I pray, I meditate, but see, my sensitivity is on overload. I pray, I
Mm,
pray every day, and I meditate, and I write down what's meaningful for me. I speak it into being. I think it into being. I walk it into being. I have faith, and that is somewhere I've come home to.
So beautiful and precious, and you do it so well. It's like a symphony. You're your
Thank
own
you.
symphony. I love it.
It's so funny because I played piano with my son because I wanted him to take piano lessons. So in this act of solidarity, I took them too. And we did a couple duets together, which was abundantly cute. But
Yeah.
he's playing again. He played instruments in high school. And when I got sound stuff, he was like really interested. And it's funny, you can study a little bit of music. You don't have to, and it does help. But it's shocking to me how easily playing has been for me. Um,
Mm,
and the fact that I have so many instruments and I play them, layering them, and I play them simultaneously, and I play them standing up, and I play them moving around, and uh, and I practice a lot for sure. And I had an incredible teacher, a couple incredible teachers, and a few
mm,
people that have mentored me who have been amazing. But it's really coming from I'm sharing my vibration and frequency that is coming out in the instruments naturally. I'm playing some because I know the notes and the music theory as well. But a lot of times
mm,
it's really about me connecting with the people in the room and about the energy I feel in the room that really intentionally and intuitively guides what I'm going to do. And
mm,
uh, and how I meditate beforehand and kind of just channel all the goodness and things I want in faith and love and compassion and kindness and reciprocity and virtue and value is what I kind of breathe and play through the instruments, and it's been such
mm.
an incredible experience for me.
Beautiful. And I'm so glad that I was able to experience that. And so how can people find you? Website, the socials?
Yeah, you can find me on social media on Instagram at christinamichael.ca. My new website is coming up in the new year. It's supposed to have been up a month ago, but life, I'm just busy. So I'm not really too worried about it. People are finding me and everything's good. I'm also at
Mm,
Space and Soul Studio, which is at spaceandsoul.ca, and we're at 6th and Fur at 1644 West 6th Avenue. We
mm,
I play there several days a week, and we have some really awesome stuff coming out for 2025. It's a beautiful
nice.
space, and
It is.
I'm really excited to be there and call it my residency home. And I'm also available for private sessions. I do some in-home group sessions. I have
Mm,
3 of them coming up in January. So those are
wow.
awesome. I think those are some of my favorites as well because I go and do a whole experience in someone's own home, and it's sort of a
Wow.
cleansing, but it's also a sharing, and it's also meditation, and there's no rush, and you can just stay in your pajamas if you want to.
Love it.
And have
Mobile sound
yeah,
therapy. I love it.
and it's fantastic, and I love those, and I want to do more of those. I want people to commune together to have an experience, and we can do them at Space and Soul, and we have an immersive, beautiful, immersive room downstairs where we can project these images and visions and visuals on the walls. But we can also, it's an infrared heat, and it's quiet, and it's serene. And then upstairs we have the organic room with a view of the city and a beautiful patio
Mhm,
outside and stuff like that. So, it's beautiful up there as well. We have a great community lounge where everybody hangs
mhm.
out after and has tea or smoothies, or we're doing a bunch of stuff for Christmas as well. So seasonal things.
Nice.
Yeah, so find me there. My new website will be christinamichael.ca. It will
Okay.
have uh, a lot of stuff on it. That's why it's taking so long. I don't want to overwhelm
Mhm.
people, but there is some really cool things going on, and I just want it to be easy for people to access things. And one quick note, February 1st, at the Van City Theatre, which is home to the Vancouver International Film Festival, VIFF, I
Mm. Yeah.
rented the theater for a day um, to invite people to come and see the M Factor Shredding the Silence on Menopause documentary that
Mm.
we filmed throughout the day there. I'm putting everything together over the coming weeks to host this event at the theater from 9 to 4. I'm looking for some sponsors to help out creating this day with the BC Women's Health Foundation, the Canadian Men's Health Foundation, Plunge for the Cure Ovarian Cancer, different people on site to answer questions and get resources about menopause. And the film, I'm hoping to do 3 screenings in a day.
Wow.
So it'll probably be free to the public to get tickets on Eventbrite. So please follow me on Instagram so you can see what's going to happen with the M Factor. And it's the
Nice.
first menopause documentary ever done in the world. I'm so grateful for the team there that they've awarded me the international license in Vancouver to host this film at the Van
Good for
City.
you.
And it's another way I just want to give back to community and have something
Mm.
really important for men and women to come and connect on and understand and learn more. And so yeah, just keep looking out for stuff that I'm doing because there's lots of retreats coming up and things. I'll be probably at the Manteo Resort in Kelowna in May doing a retreat with Dr. Michaela Watts and
Nice.
lots of other cool stuff. And Save the Bees. I'm a beekeeper. So I am
Nice.
immersing myself in learning more about having to have my own apiary at some point. And so buy bee stuff.
Amazing. Thank you, Christina. And definitely I'll put all of the links like within the podcast details below. And I just thank you for taking the time to be here with me. And for those listening, I thank you for taking the time to tune in. And if something did not resonate, that's okay. Take what you need and leave the rest and come back and listen. And maybe something will spark your imagination or it'll land at a later date. So, again, thank you, Christina. Wishing you well. And to all of the listeners, mwah, sending you lots of love and always be true to you. Till next time. See you later.